Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and I've had a few tough days in a row in the Go Battle League. After peaking at 2813 elo, number 6 in the world, I ended up dropping close to 200 elo. However, the good news is, today I am back to the 2800s, and I did the vast majority of my climbing with my newly traded for Regidrago. Regidrago as a Pokemon has almost no defense and high HP, and I was lucky enough in a trade to get a very high defense Regidrago, which picks up a few interesting bulk points. So the team I ran was Regidrago lead, Shadow Scizor as the safe switch, and Stunfist as the closer. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1 we pick up a very nice lead, Regidrago into AirMandabuzz. Regidrago does win all even shielding scenarios versus AirMandabuzz. Mandabuzz is going to go for the foul play, and I'm able to tank that quite comfortably. Mandabuzz is notoriously bulky, so I'm not going for the bait, going straight for Dragon Energy, and my opponent will respect it with a shield. Dragon Energy is a Dragon-type clone of the move Frenzy Plant. I can survive this next foul play and still make it to the Dragon Energy. They try and snipe with the Drapion, but I survive the Poison Sting to make a second Dragon Energy, and Regidrago absolutely nukes the Drapion. I'm reading this as a ground-type bait-out, so I'm going to save my Stunfist for the endgame and instead bring in Shadow Scizor. Scizor is going to shield up the Aqua Tail, as even an Aqua Tail would do quite a bit of damage and get a nice farm down. I do exit with energy. Unfortunately, this energy is pretty useless into the Mandabuzz. In comes the Mandabuzz. I'm just going to try for a foul play catch. I don't get the catch, but disaster strikes, as it was not a ground-type bait-out. They're running an ABC-style line, and now my Stunfisk is on Quagsire. So I've made a pretty monumental mistake in team reading. I was expecting that my Stunfisk would have play, so I saved it. I didn't put it on a good matchup, and now I'm being punished for that fact, as Quagsire is going to do very, very well into the Stunfisk. The good news for me is I do have a massive amount of energy on Shadow Scizor, but I still think I'm in quite a bit of trouble. The Aqua Tail will pick up the KO, in comes the Scizor, and I fire off this Night Slash on the Charge Attack priority tie. Night Slash is going to force the shield. I'm going to be forced to shield back, because an Aqua Tail will just do too much damage. In comes Mandabuzz, and Mandabuzz is now going to go for the foul play. I'm going to need to throw 2 bullet punches here, and the second air slash will not register, and it all comes down to this. Can I survive a mud shot? If yes, I have a chance to win the game, and I survive the mud shot on 1 HP. Shadow Scizor hangs on. You can't even see its health bar, but we're able to escape with a win. Moving to game number 2, we pick up a very good lead, Regidrago versus Unova Stunfist. Unova Stunfist is a Pokemon that is extremely common at my elo range, and Regidrago, obviously by virtue of resisting Thunder Shocks, is going to do very nicely there. Again, with a Pokemon as bulky as like Mandabuzz or Unova Stunfist, I really don't like to bait, so I am just going to full send. I land the Dragon Energy, and now I'm in a very comfortable spot. Mud Bomb is going to connect, opponent going to save switch into their Galisopod, and Galisopod, I'll get some very nice damage here with the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe is going to be shielded. My opponent does actually get their attack drop. That's a 50-50 chance, and now I get to bring in the Stunfisk. Stunfisk will not be able to pick up a knockout here with a Discharge, so it doesn't really matter when I throw it. I just want damage on the Galisopod. Discharge is going to land. They're going to make one final Aqua Jet, but I'm very okay taking this damage and farming down. The Aqua Jet lands, aggressive pivot into the Moltres, but I have a very HP-weighted Stunfisk. We hang on with fractional HP, force the shield from the Moltres, and now in comes Shadow Scizor. Scizor did enter the field a turn behind. I am just going to go straight for the Trailblaze, recognizing that I need to boost up my bullet punches. My opponent is not going to throw a move here. Their play is to try and just get the game-winning catch and have me die with 2 shields. So the moment I get the Night Slash, I'm just going to switch out, because that's when they should go for the catch. There's a simultaneous switch, and with the Night Slash loaded and 2 Protect shields remaining, my opponent is going to resign the match. We see a pretty big core breaker on the lead in the next match, and its name is Shadow Steelix. My plan here is to stay in, tank a Breaking Swipe, and then pivot into the Scizor and save the energy for later, but they're farming up so much energy. Are they actually going to Earthquake me here? I decided to let it go. It is the Earthquake. I almost get one shot. I aggressively pivot into Scizor, and unfortunately, this is a devastatingly bad simultaneous switch in, as I bring in Scizor and they bring in Mandabuzz. Obviously, if I had seen the Mandabuzz switch in, that I could have sent in the Stunfisk, as Stunfisk obviously completely destroys Mandabuzz. This is actually a Snarl Mandabuzz as well, so they are going to have better pacing than the Air Slash variant, but obviously, they don't really do any fast move damage. An Aerial Ace bait into the Dark Pulse is going to pressure both my shields. If my opponent shields here, I could potentially go for the combo play with the energy on Regidrago, but I decide just to stay in. My opponent reads the combo play, and they pivot back into the Steelix. But I didn't go for the combo play. Now I get to land a +1 Trailblaze, farm down the Steelix, and suddenly, with that correct read of not going for the combo play, we are slowly inching our way back into this game. Aerial Ace is going to knock me out, but I get the Thundershock down. In the back is Wigglytuff, and you're about to see that Wigglytuff's neutral matchups are just atrociously bad. Wigglytuff has a shield here. They are in the 1-0 shield scenario. I don't have a shield, but Wigglytuff's neutrals are just so bad that my opponent's actually not going to be able to take home this win. I'm able to land Mud Bomb after Mud Bomb. They end up throwing on alignment knowing that I would never catch on alignment. They go for the Icy Wind. I can fire off this Mud Bomb, and if they shield it, they're going to be in for a nasty surprise because the energy that I stored on Regidrago is going to win me this game. So we get a glorious screenshot of double resistant Dragon Energy knocking out Wigglytuff to secure the win. We move to the next match, picking up a good lead, Regidrago versus Galisopod. Galisopod obviously will have a pacing advantage in this matchup. They can fire off the X-Scissor, but I'm pretty comfortable absorbing that damage. Here, I accidentally throw an alignment, and my opponent will actually get a catch onto Diggersby. Diggersby is obviously incredibly bad for my backline, but realistically, getting some chip damage will help Scizor immensely in this matchup. As the Scizor player, I'm just going for the Trailblaze. Trailblaze obviously means that I have way worse pacing than the Diggersby, but I just need to ramp up these bullet punches as much as possible. They're going to go for another Fire Punch, and I'm just going to under-tap the Night Slash here. Night Slash is going to be caught by opponent playing very aggressively, dancing in and out. I full charge the Night Slash, and that will allow me to farm down. The Diggersby should be on 2. And I'm on 2 as well, which means if they bring back in the Diggersby, I actually get this Night Slash. And they do. I'm going to win charge attack priority here. And now my opponent is forced to burn the final shield if they want to get rid of Scizor. They do want to get rid of Scizor, so whatever they have in back, clearly not a big fan of a Scizor that's at about half health. I send in Regidrago. In the back is Forretress. Forretress, I'll get a little bit of chip damage with the Breaking Swipe, 50-50 chance at an attack drop. We do not get the attack drop, but by getting a little bit of damage, that does help clean up this zero shield matchup for the Stunfist. Stunfist will go for the Mud Bomb, and they're approaching a range where a second Mud Bomb will be enough to knock out. Earthquake, if they have it, will not KO me here. Opponent does have the Earthquake. We're able to hang on, and I intentionally get myself as low as possible because my opponent is now going to get to farm me down with the Diggersby, but as long as they only get 3 here, they don't have enough for the move, and I can farm down with Regidrago and take the win. Regidrago versus Shadow Scizor. Now, Regidrago does win the zero shield matchup by absorbing the bullet punches and a Night Slash and being able to successfully land a Dragon Energy. I do like baiting here because they have to respect the Dragon Energy, and I do actually get an attack drop, which is very nice. Here, my opponent is genuinely playing it very well. As the Scizor player, you should just shield and farm to the point where your Night Slash will KO, but my opponent makes a pretty big misplay. They end up wanting to save the energy because they were debuffed by the Breaking Swipe, so they pivot out of that energy and send in a Azumarill. And this is just an opportunity for Scizor to exit boosted and with a massive amount of energy. So instead of my opponent being the one having the advantage, now I'm the one who has the advantage. I just undertap here. Opponent is going to bring in Mandabuzz. Mandabuzz, obviously very fine, tanking a +1 Night Slash. I bank a move for later, send in the Stunfist, and back in comes Shadow Scizor. This is a tough call to make. I shield, and I do not get it right as they go for the Night Slash, and now they will be able to make it to a Trailblaze. Trailblaze is going to add up. That's big damage onto the Stunfisk. Stunfisk, I'm able to make the back-to-back discharges here versus the Mandabuzz. Mandabuzz, not going to appreciate this damage. Discharge is a pretty bad attack, but it is still super effective. So this damage is very important and will help out the Scizor later in the game. My opponent does not want to take any more damage. They're going to fire off this Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse picks up the knockout. In comes the Scizor, and this is going to be another race to the finish here. Scizor boosting itself up with the Trailblaze. Can we get the Bullet Punch down here? Scizor able to hang on, another 1 HP clutch. You absolutely love to see it. Great lead in the next match. Regidrago into Greninja. Opponent safe switches into Scizor, and here I freeze. I make a massive error. If your opponent safe switches Shadow Scizor, you should always just go into Unova Stunfisk. Unova Stunfisk has a completely dominant matchup into Scizor because the bullet punches are resisted and you could do a ton of damage with Mud Bomb. But instead, I misplay quite severely. I could have had incredibly favorable alignment, but instead I'm down a shield, which is never a spot where you want to be as Shadow Scizor. Scizor is now going to be met with the Greninja. I'm always going to be Night Slash baiting, but my opponent, since they're up a shield, is very comfortable committing the shield. They will get to fire off the Night Slash. I'm going to commit the shield, but at this point, I'm just completely kicking myself. I don't know what they have in the back yet, but already I've so severely misplayed this game, and I've lost so much health on Regidrago that I didn't need to. There, I try for a catch onto the Regidrago. My opponent shows very nice patience, and now I'll just get KO'd with the Night Slash, and this was just completely avoidable. In comes the Scizor. Bullet Punch does go through, so my opponent waited the turn there. In comes Stunfist, and I need Stunfist to be able to win the zeros versus whatever's in back, and it cannot. Stunfist does not win the zeros versus Galarian Corsola. I'm still going to play it out, hoping against hope that with a small energy lead that maybe it can flip the zeros, but in my heart of hearts, I know that it unfortunately cannot. And man, this game, looking back on it, is probably one of the more winnable losses that I had, where realistically, when I saw the Scizor, if I just bring in the Stunfisk, I'm in a very comfortable spot. But here, unfortunately, I can get close to the double Mud Bomb, but the Nightshade will knock me out, so we will lose a very winnable game. Let's move to the next match. I'm looking for a bit of redemption after that last game, but it's going to be a tough lead. Regidrago into Dusclops. Now, Regidrago plays the Dusclops matchup fine enough. This team as a whole is pretty soft to Dusclops. I would argue it's one of this team's weak spots, is Dusclops has pretty safe matchups no matter where it's aligned. Breaking Swipe bait does get called. I go for Charge Attack priority. My opponent is going to end up saving the Dusclops and switching in Primeape. Primeape shields the Breaking Swipe that they caught just to get debuffed. The debuff doesn't really matter because Stunfist is going to tank a move either way. I'm just going to try and soft lose this mid game in exchange for farm on Regidrago. I have preserved Regidrago's health decently enough, so I can survive a move from that Dusclops no problem. They are going to try and CMP time me here and just knock me out with the Ice Punch, but I can just get farm on Drago. So I send in Drago, opponent is going to pivot out, and in the back, that's not what I wanted to see. They have Diggersby. I make the Dragon Energy that felt like it was a Charge Attack priority tie. Dragon Energy is going to be shielded up by my opponent. That would do pretty significant damage. They're going to go for the Scorching Sands, and now it's all up to Shadow Scizor. Shadow Scizor is going to have to put in an incredible amount of work in this endgame. Step 1, shielding up the Fire Punch. Step 2, over farming and playing to the CMP tie of Fire Punch number 2, denying that energy, so now I will exit boosted. They have energy on the Dusclops, but I survive a move. I just have to watch for a catch attempt onto the Primeape. In comes the Dusclops. They wait to try and go for a catch, but I hold on to the energy, and now we'll get to KO Dusclops. That team comp was a really tough one, but we are able to escape with the win. Tough opponent in the next match, Jocko Loco, and it's an uncomfortable lead. As the Regidrago player, I love when Scizor is just Night Slash instantly, because then I can click no shield, make it to the Dragon Energy, force the shield, and then pivot into my own Scizor. But Jocko is playing this very well. Jocko is just going to overfarm to the point where he can knock out with the Night Slash. He shielded the Breaking Swipe, but the Breaking Swipe did not get the debuff, and now I don't really want to take the damage on my Unova Stunfisk, so I bring in my own Scizor. My Scizor unfortunately did get the one turn bring in there. Night Slash is going to be shielded. They have another Night Slash ready to go, and just like that, I'm forced to give up both shields. I do exit with energy, and Shadow Scizor often has water types in the back, and we do see a water type right here as Lantern will hit the field of play. Lantern met with the Trailblaze. Lantern is going to be committing that shield. I bank the move for later, pivoting into the Stunfisk, but Stunfisk is not going to have an amazing time in this matchup either, as Stunfisk is going to be met with the Surf. I can make it to a super effective Mud Bomb, but I cannot make it to another one. I just have to hope that Scizor can potentially one-shot something in the back. Really nice counting from my opponent. They are going to fire off the Surf right before I get the Mud Bomb. Back in comes the Scizor. In the back is going to be a Azumarill. It was double water in the back. This is definitely a team comp that I've beaten with this team before, but I really have to tip my hat to Jocko in this moment, because Jocko played that initial matchup so well of constantly over farming with the Shadow Scizor, making 2 moves versus my Scizor, and setting himself up for success. What's not setting me up for success is in the final match leading into a Galarian Weezing. The safe switch Scizor baits out Annihilate, and I'm just going to be spamming out Night Slashes. Night Slash is going to be shielded. We get the boost. Look at these bullet punches go. Shadow Scizor, you absolute animal. We make one final Night Slash, and my opponent goes down 2 shields for alignment. Even if I didn't get the boost and they exited healthier, the plan here is always to use Regidrago as a damage sponge. Regidrago has put in a lot of work throughout this video, but against the Galarian Weezing, it can't do anything. I bring in the Stunfist, in the back is Lapras, and we are going to be able to take this game. Even if we were only up 1 shield, we were still in a pretty good spot, but up 2 shields, unfortunately, there's just no play for my opponent. It probably would have been a much closer game, but the boost, guaranteeing so much bullet punch damage onto the Annihilate, really helped make things quite a bit simpler. All in all, I had so much fun getting to use Regidrago and Shadow Scizor. I think these are 2 of my favorite Pokemon this season, and being able to use them together really made for a very enjoyable team. As I mentioned, this is the team that I did the majority of my climbing with as I climbed back to the 2800s. I believe at the time of recording, number 36 in the world, so very happy to be able to climb back after a few tough days. It was definitely a lot of misplays on my part, like after a long day of GoFest, you're not going to have the best mental clarity as far as your decision making when battling, so I definitely feel like I left a lot of games on the table, but this team ended up being really fun. As always with a lot of these teams, whether the team's going to work for you or not will largely come down to your familiarity with matchups and the meta that you're currently seeing. Like if you're seeing non-stop Dedenne leads, this may not be the team just because obviously there are 2 really good answers to Dedenne in the back, but if you're constantly seeing like Dedenne plus Fire, this may not be the team considering we're safe switching Shadow Scizor, but I haven't really seen Fire types in a few days, so Shadow Scizor felt like a decent enough safe switch, and it felt like it worked out in a lot of matchups. Really the most uncomfortable matchup for Shadow Scizor was anytime it got stuck onto the Dark Flyers, because the Dark Flyers, they still take a ton of damage from Bullet Punch, but being able to wall off the charge attacks of Shadow Scizor is a really good way to limit Shadow Scizor's success. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.